So we are joined from Weston,
Right.
Mississippi by Geoff Bourgeois, owner, operator, the man that wears all the hats at Pinpoint Home Inspection here in Central Mississippi. We thank you so much for joining us. This is our entrepreneurship class. I've got a room full here with me at Belma Jackson High School. We're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County Schools, Madison Central High School, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So thank you for fitting this in your schedule today.
I appreciate you for having me. Look forward to talking a little bit home inspection, hopefully a whole lot of bit entrepreneurship and everything that goes into it. So I appreciate you having me here.
That's awesome. Now, before we get into all that, just give us a little bit about your background, because I honestly I don't know that much about you either. So, just give us a little bit about your education background, how you got licensed in this, and all that stuff.
Yeah, so it goes back a long way, but I originally got into the field of education via coaching. I wanted to, I was an athlete in high school, wanted to be a coach, follow my dad's footsteps, the whole deal. And I went to college, got my, you know, teaching degree, got licensed. I started teaching and coaching. Did that for a while. And I'm originally from Louisiana, New Orleans area. And so we had decided to move to Texas, and Texas football is everything they say it is. It's a whole lot of hours, and when we moved there, it was just myself and my wife, and then a couple of years later, it was a family of four. So I wasn't getting any time with my kids with all the coaching responsibilities and everything like that, and something needed to change, and I kind of stumbled upon home inspection. I went and got licensed, started working for a guy out there. He trained me up, taught me how to do things the right way, and all that. And so when we decided to make the move to Mississippi, I got my license here and started my own business. So here we are.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to talk about the business aspect, but I think it's important that everybody understands what a home inspection is and how important it is. Because look, I'm not even an expert, and I can tell you right now, if you ever do a real estate transaction and you do not get a home inspection, you are absolutely outside of your mind. So, talk about what a home inspection is and all the things that are covered and why it's so important for someone when they're buying a home, especially these kids that want to buy their first home after high school and college, why it's so important to have a home inspection done every single time.
Yeah, so a home inspection is, I mean, it is what the name says. It's basically we go in and we do a visual inspection of every accessible surface area in the home. So that's going to be exterior, roof, foundation, mechanical equipment, interior walls, floors, windows, doors, ceilings, electrical panels, the whole deal. And then we're also going to mechanically test the, AC and heat, the water heater, electrical outlets, plumbing, light switches, fans, doors, windows, kitchen appliances. And then we put all that into a report and we provide that to our clients, which are in most cases, 99% of the time, it's a home buyer. They want to know what they're getting before they make that final decision whether they're going to invest all that money. So it's no different than getting the Carfax for a vehicle purchase, or I mean, shoot, even you go buy a pair of shoes, you're gonna try them on, you're gonna, look at them, make sure they're in good shape and that they're the way you want them before you make that decision. So it's the same thing for a house, but you got an expert going in there that's got a general knowledge of all those systems.
Absolutely. And the cool thing about home inspection is that if you wanted to get into this, you don't need a college degree to get into it. State of Mississippi, you just got to be 21 years old and
Nope.
go through the licensing classes and all the application process. So talk about that because, we have kids all the time that say, I'm kind of on the fence about college, but I'd be really interested in having
Mhm.
a job that I can learn and work and, work with some tradespeople, work with things, I want to still work with customers. So talk about how kids can get into that because I think it could be a great field to get into.
Yeah, so it's funny because I went to college and I did the whole teacher certification and licensing and all that. And I value that education that I got, and it helped me pursue the goal that I had. But
Yep.
then roughly 40 years old, my goals change. And
Yeah.
so then I go through the licensing process for home inspection, and it was schooling and stuff like that. I had to put in my hours and get that taken care of and all that. But my financial investment for all that was probably $3,000 to $4,000 instead of 40, 50, $100,000 that college costs. And then the time was about a year. It took me about a year to get fully licensed. And of course, I did some extra training because I worked for a guy out there. I didn't just jump in both feet with running my own company, but I was getting paid at the same time. So it's kind of like, I was able to ease my way into it, and it gave me a little bit more confidence once I did decide to bite the bullet and start my own business. But yeah, the education part is you just high school diploma or equivalent, and you go into training, and it's a lot you got to know, but it's doable. For that, if you got average intelligence in that even range, you're gonna be able to make it through if you put in the work. So no 4 year commitment like college.
Absolutely. And the cool thing is that this is, just like any other business, when you have this training and you have this license, once you're willing to show you can work and show you can be good at this, like you said, you didn't have a huge financial commitment at the beginning, but for kids that are, want to just get in there and show that they want to work hard and want to take that initiative, this is a great pathway to take of entrepreneurship as opposed to the traditional route that was being preached for so many years.
Right. And that's kind of the main thing that, you know, I guess my takeaway from everything, because I taught a class similar to this when I was in Texas. You were talking about the pathways and career readiness and, all that stuff, and choosing the coursework as you were going through high school to reach your future goals. And, I was a big proponent on, if college is right for a lot of people, but it's also not right for a lot of people. And in my opinion, there's too many people today that are going to college that don't need it, or they're pursuing degree fields of study that aren't, necessarily going to pay for
Yeah.
itself, or, help them pay back their loans and stuff like that. And so, that's kind of something else that drew it to me. And when I was going through the process of getting licensed, I was in my last year of teaching, and I was telling my students that same thing. It's there's a lot out there, all the trades, and that's the cool thing about this field as well, is I'm working with realtors. Real estate agents, they have their own licensing process. College is not necessary. I work with HVAC technicians, electricians, plumbers, roofers. These are all people that, some of them may have gone to college or not, but it's not required. And it's like you said, you put in the work. If you're going to have success in anything, it's going to require some work and effort. And,
Oh yeah.
if you put that in, you're going to see some levels of success.
Big time. Now, one thing and I've had a variety of business owners that have joined us, and I think it's cool because you can be great at your job. You could be a great home inspector. You could be a great plumber. You could be a great artist, but that doesn't necessarily mean you can be a good business person, because it really is two completely separate entities. Because there's nothing, and we have people all the time say, "Look, it's fine being an employee. We need really good employees, and employers want people that think like entrepreneurs because it builds the business, and at the end of the
Yeah.
day, that employee benefits from more money." So what has been the biggest learning curve? Because I hear kids all the time, and I'm sure you did too, that say, "I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be my own boss," but they don't have any idea how to get started. So, what is the biggest learning curves that maybe someone is going to face, no matter what type of business they want to start? All right, I'm in charge now. What do I do?
Well, so that was my biggest learning curve, was understanding. I mean, there's so much that goes into it. There's the marketing side, the accounting side, the service side itself, having to learn a little bit to go get an LLC, or if you want to start an S corp, or there's all these different things. And I think my biggest advice would be, don't try to take it all in at once. It's just kind of, if you're going to start a business, you kind of have to take that step, and it might be, you know, getting licensed in whatever it is that you want to do, or it might be starting the LLC or opening a new bank account, just for a business account. But that was the biggest thing for me, was because I come from an education background, so I just kind of take the home inspection itself and look at it like I'm educating my clients on the home. So it's really similar in terms of my approach to it. And then the business side of things, as far as it's a service industry, so I can take, some personality and some the service mindset of doing for others and doing the best job I can for others. And that is going to help me be successful when I do inspections. So then it comes to, okay, well, how do I get those inspections? And there's a lot of fields today, and I think this will resonate well with younger people because they're in tune with it. But most of my marketing, I'll call it marketing. I don't really spend any money on marketing. I get on Facebook, I find real estate agents, I find local people in the community, and then I interact with them. And I like their posts and I share their listings and I tell them like that's a nice looking house, and I'm just interacting just like I would if we were in person. And it's really everything I have has pinpoint written on it. Everything, I got it on my Facebook page, and it's just kind of brand awareness. And if you're an entrepreneur and you're running your own business, you're the brand, And so if people see that you're active and dynamic and positive and helpful and willing to serve others, that's the phone calls will start coming.
Man, you're speaking my language here. Now, along those same lines, and I know I can speak for all the other teachers that'll see this later, is once we get done with this today, I'm going to have them working on these presentations. And they hate doing them. They just think I'm being mean. They don't like speaking in front of people. But how important is that communication skill, especially as an entrepreneur? Because yes, with trends changing, the social media presence is more and more important for entrepreneurs than ever before. That's definitely something that has to be learned. But when it comes to the face-to-face interaction, when you've got a report, you've got to talk to a customer, say XYZ, here's what the issues are. You've got to talk to realtors for them to talk to their clients. So those communication skills are vital, not only to a successful business, but for these customers to really have a good investment. So talk about that because I think that's overlooked way too much.
Yeah. So, I was coming from the teaching background. That was easy for me to make that transition. But I will say, when I was younger, when I was a student in school, I could not stand getting up in front of the classroom and having to do a presentation or a speech. I hated, even into college, I hated it. And I looked at my future career and was going, I'm going to stand up in front of a whole football team and say this or that. I'm going to stand up in front of a whole classroom and have to say this or that. It overwhelmed me. And the best advice I could give for, getting good at that is one, know your stuff. You're going to speak a lot more confidently on whatever the subject matter is if you know it really well. I used to try to memorize my speech. And then, this, if you fumble one part of that memorized speech, the whole rest of it is done, right? You're not going to be able to correct yourself. But when you're standing there and you're with friends or family or colleagues or whatever, and you're talking about a subject that you really know, whatever it may be, football, entrepreneurship, I don't know, whatever's on TV right now, whatever show you're watching, if you know it really well, you can speak competently about it and you don't struggle as much. And so my advice is to learn your material, whatever it is you need to know to give those presentations and all that. But most of my interaction is one-on-one or one-on-two. Families there to buy a house, there's just two of them or whatever, and I just tell them about the home. I do some presentations at realtor organizations and workshops and open house type things where it definitely helps to be comfortable. But the best way to do that is just do it. Get in front of people and do it. So if you got an opportunity in the classroom to give a presentation, embrace it. I mean, it's okay to be nervous. It's okay to be scared. I was a little nervous before this because I haven't done anything like this in a long time. And I want to do a good job. So, the nerves are going to be there. You get more comfortable the more you do it. And all of us teachers definitely know that. and, but pretty much that's anybody that has to speak in front of people is they're going to go through some of those times.
Oh, I agree. Now, I've always been comfortable speaking, but everybody's not comfortable. But it's such an important skill if you're ever going to be successful in business, or even if you just want to be an employee. I say even small things like walking in a room and introducing yourself, because I have kids say all the time, well, I'm just going to be a hairstylist. Well, you've got to be able to talk to that customer about how you're going to cut their hair, and then you got to tell them how much it costs. So unless you want them to pay somebody
Right.
else, you got to have that customer interaction. Because I always say this all the time, and I know they get sick of hearing it, is that as an entrepreneur, you need the customers more than the customer needs you. So that customer service aspect and that communication aspect is so vital.
Yes, yes. And you made a good point that oftentimes it's simple one-on-one, no different than talking to your friend. And I used to do this when dealing with like job interviews, and I even taught this to my students was as soon as you get in that situation, instead of thinking of it like I have to go in there, make sure I give a good firm handshake and make sure I'm answering the questions and all that, turn it into a casual conversation. You can still talk about the important content, whatever it is that you need to be talking about, but you can make it more casual. I ask a ton of questions. Where are you from? How's your family? And then it becomes more relational instead of transactional. And so if I'm a hairstylist, I'm asking my, client about their life and sharing some details about mine. And you're kind of selling yourself as more of than just a haircut. It's an experience. It's positive interaction. Maybe you gossip, maybe you give advice or whatever. It's like kind of the old bartender situation where you're everybody's psychiatrist or whatever. But just make it casual and you feel more comfortable. And then when you feel comfortable, you make them comfortable. And it's more memorable. And like I said, you're selling that experience more so than just the service.
Yeah, and that and I say this all the time too. Just doing little things allows you to charge a lot more. So if you can
True.
justify charging more, people don't mind paying it. People don't mind paying for great customer service. They don't mind paying for convenience. And if you know that they're going to get that when they pay for it, you can offer it, and it's amazing how much more money you'll make.
Yeah. And then you can do less work for the same money, or you can do more work for more money.
Now, the last thing I want to talk about before I get to the kids' questions is you mentioned something earlier about learning the business side of it, because I think a big mistake, especially a lot of the young kids that we have, because we've had several students come through this class that have started their own business, and they're really good at the presentation side. They can get on Instagram, they can sell, 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 but they don't have any idea how to manage the books or manage any of the financial side, because that's a big hurdle that a lot of young people have to overcome. But especially since COVID now, there are more and more virtual people that can do things for you on a contract basis where you don't have to hire somebody full time and you don't necessarily have to learn it.
Right.
We have a friend of this class. She does virtual CFO and accounting services from her home in New Jersey for all types of small businesses. So, what are some other things that that are resources out there? Because kids say, "Well, I want to own my own business, but I'm not good at accounting." What are some other things that that they can bring people in to do things instead of having to learn all of it and go all in?
Yeah. So right now I do it all. I'd like to get to a point where I can contract out certain things like manning the phones or like doing some of the accounting things and all that. And I mean budgeting is budgeting no matter whether it's your personal finances or business finances. So my what I would say on that side is the money side of it is allocate your money before you even have it. So that basically just means X amount or X percentage of the money that's coming in is going to go towards paying for my website or paying whatever expenses your business has. X amount is going to come back to me so that I can afford to live and things. And um if you've allocated the money before you get it, then whatever comes in that's more than you were expecting is now profit, right? And you put that into a separate place and try not to spend it, reinvest it back into the business when you're ready, that kind of thing. Just try to be smart about it. But there are so many things, like you mentioned, out there. There's individual people that do it on a case by case basis. You might just need it done once a month instead of paying somebody 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. There's things like Fiverr and things like that, where you can just go online, find somebody that does what you do, interview them, see if see if they're gonna be able to meet the needs for the price you want to pay, and then kind of hand it over to them. I think that's most entrepreneurs want to get to that at some point. When you're doing everything yourself, you're still just self-employed. You're not a business owner yet. And
Yeah.
so we all want to get to where we can hire somebody to do some of this and hire somebody to do some of that. We can kind of back off a little bit, and we still make money without having to get paid by the hour, basically.
Yeah, and I know there's great web designers that work on contract basis that are great at websites. Even people that shoot commercials, they can put it online for you. So there are all types of these contractors that are also entrepreneurs that need the business that could help you as well. So I think that's an important thing to reach out and know those resources because there's a ton of them locally.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, you don't with social media, you don't even need local. I mean, it's always nice to go local, but I mean, I made my website when I first started. I didn't really love it, and I got on Twitter or X, whatever it's called now, and I said, I need somebody that can help me with my website. And I mean, there were so many people. I probably got 100 DMs in the next, day or two of people offering their services. This is how much we charge. Here are some examples. Here's my portfolio. I mean, you don't. They interview themselves basically because they can come to you with all kinds of, and that's what they're on. They're doing. They're trying to do their own business. So they're on
Yeah,
social media searching keywords, and when they find them, they go in there and they respond. So it's not hard to find somebody that does work. It
awesome.
might be
Well,
hard to find somebody that's good.
uh, there you go. Well, I got a couple questions from the students. This is Shirai Luckett. He's in 10th grade. And he asked, what is the strangest interaction you've ever had with a customer?
Strangest interaction. Ooh, that's a good one. I guess mine's sort of like a catch-all answer because it's strange in that it wasn't just once, and it's kind of I don't know. I guess it wouldn't be too crazy, but in my world, it can be. It's the people that come to the inspection pretty much the whole time, follow you around and ask you like 100 questions about everything, and like I said, I'm there to serve them, and so I try to be as receptive as possible to them, and as I try to answer all their questions, but they don't realize that they're making the job harder for me, but also really making it where I might not be as good as I should be,
Yeah.
and they're taking away from their own inspection. Um, and so, it's trying to find that balance. And then I guess the other side of it would be sometimes the seller kind of hangs out there. They don't leave. And they like to follow me around and tell me why something is wrong and what they did to make it right, all that. So both of those are kind of interesting.
I can only imagine. This is Caden Williams. He's in 10th grade, member of our football team, our state champion powerlifting team.
Oh,
And he asked,
congratulations.
hell yeah, he's a good one. He asked, have you ever had what setbacks did you have when you first started your business, and how did you overcome those?
That is a great question. So, generically speaking, the setbacks you're going to run into are obviously trying to find customers, and you know, just that putting yourself in a position where it's okay to struggle for a while financially. We did a lot to make sure that when I did start a business, that we could go without money for a while. And you know, part of that for us was, kind of making sure we made the right choices leading up to it. If you're starting young, if you're 18 years old and you're starting a business, hopefully you already have some of that built in, living at home and, still being in school, not needing to make a whole lot. But specifically for me, the setbacks really are, I can't, it was really me just not having the knowledge, like Mr. Pygott said, of knowing how to do all the things that running a business entail. I knew how to inspect. I got trained by somebody. I knew how to write a report. I knew like the ins and outs of the service I was providing. And so the hangups that I had were, how do I reach more people? How do I become I guess, an expert in the field? Not for me, because I knew that I was an expert because I was trained and licensed and all that, but to project myself to others. So it was building that reputation. And so overcoming that was just kind of what I said earlier, is just getting on social media, reaching out to people, interacting with people, and just trying to get some name recognition. And like I said, build that positive reputation.
Big time. Well, we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for taking some time for us today. But before we go, a couple things. First of all, your website, pickpinpoint.com.
Yes. Yep. PICKPINPOINT.
So any, I mean, I don't think we have any high school kids ready to buy a home, but for anybody's parents that needs a home inspection anywhere in Central Mississippi, definitely could check you out. All your contact information is on there. But the last thing before we go is obviously you made a pivot into entrepreneurship later in life, but for those that are really considering getting into entrepreneurship as soon as they graduate high school or while they're in college, what should they be ready for from day one?
I mean, it really, you just kind of have to get over the idea of being modest, not putting yourself out there. Sometimes we have our own hangups of putting stuff on social media or, paying for ads or whatever, where, oh, people are going to think that I'm bragging or people are going to think that I'm full of myself. And it's just not the case. And it's in your own head. So you have to just tell yourself, I am marketing. I'm not bragging. If I do a good inspection or if I get a good 5-star review from somebody, yeah, it comes across maybe that you're bragging to certain people, but those aren't your target market anyway. You're marketing towards people that are looking for somebody who gets good reviews and who does a good job and who's not scared to get out in front of people and do things. So, that's kind of the biggest thing I think is, especially if you're young, everything seems to be sort of built around what is my reputation, how are people going to view me, and you know not a whole lot of people are comfortable putting it all out there, and that's been probably the thing that's helped me have the most success is just kind of getting over that fear and putting myself out there.
Awesome. Well, again, we thank you so much for so much for joining us. I know you got a busy schedule. Geoff Bourgeois, owner of Pinpoint Home Inspection down there in Western Mississippi. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. And I want to add one more thing. All
Sure.
my contact information is on my website. And for those students that, if they're looking for just like little tidbits of entrepreneurial help, you can email me or text me and I'll get back to you and maybe help you get started or kind of guide you through some of that process. I used to do this as a teacher, and now that I'm in it in the world myself, I'd like to help as many people as possible because it really is like a freeing approach to what you're going to do with your life.
Awesome. Well, really appreciate it. Again, thank you so much for joining us, Geoff Bourgeois. Talk to you soon,
You're
buddy.
welcome. Thank you. All right.
See
Sounds
you.
good.